Live from WRAL News headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
What should happen to undocumented immigrants in jail after they've been ordered to be released? That question is at the center of a debate over ICE cooperation changes, and we'll share the reaction.
And I'm tracking Tropical Storm Francine, soon to be a hurricane. I'll show you where it will make landfall along the Gulf Coast and what we could see here.
And it's a moment that could reshape the race for the White House. Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump will face off for their first debate. This is a live look at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, the site of the debate, how each nominee has prepared for the moment.
Francine is strengthening in the Gulf of Mexico. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. It is likely to make landfall in Louisiana tomorrow evening as a hurricane. The outer bands are already causing widespread flooding in parts of South Texas. Elizabeth Gardner is on the WRAL weather patio with a look at the latest stats and its path. Elizabeth.
So it is looking like it's going to make landfall in Louisiana. Right now, the winds are at 65 miles per hour. It's starting to strengthen a little bit, but it hasn't really started that rapid intensification, which it may undergo as it gets a little closer to the border there, as it gets closer to Louisiana. It's moving northeast at 8 miles per hour, slightly faster than it was earlier this morning, but still 8 miles an hour is a pretty slow moving storm. As it sits over those warm waters, though, of the Gulf of Mexico, it is likely to begin to strengthen. As a matter of fact, by 8 o'clock, most likely a Category 1 storm, and it could be close to Category 2 strength before it makes landfall tomorrow evening. And then its path takes it up the Mississippi Valley, not necessarily in our direction. It eventually just fizzles out there up the Mississippi Valley, and it may sit there for a bit and bring us a little bit of rain, but we're not talking about much. We take a look at Futurecast here. Lots of heavy rain in Louisiana and up and down the Gulf Coast, as much as 5 to 10 inches of rain. A storm surge up to 9 feet, and we'll take a close look at that, at who could see that 9-foot storm surge coming up. But we'll take a look at what happens as the storm moves northward. Most of the rain goes up the Mississippi Valley, and we just see a little bit of it. On Friday, some light patchy rain, and all total for the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're really talking about less than an inch. Lots of heavy rain along its path up the Mississippi Valley. But for us, look at that. I mean, we're talking about a few hundredths of an inch, maybe to a quarter of an inch. Of course, that could change depending on the path of the storm, but if it stays well to our west, we're likely to end up with very little rain.
Elizabeth, thanks. Sheriffs in North Carolina could soon be required to comply when faced with a request from federal immigration agents. That's a key part of a bill currently headed to the State House. WRAL's Eric Miller has been following this and joins us live with what this bill does and who it would impact. Eric.
Renee, this bill would really come into force, assuming it makes it into law, when somebody who's in the country illegally is taken into a jail, like right here in Wake County. Now, when that happens, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement can issue what's called a detention request, essentially asking a sheriff's office to hang on to that person until they can be taken into custody by immigration officials. Now, the vast majority of sheriffs in North Carolina will comply with a request like that, but there are sheriffs out there who won't, including in Wake, Durham, and Orange County. Those sheriffs arguing that it's potentially unconstitutional to keep hanging on to someone in jail when, say, they've potentially made bail. Now, this issue has been very contentious at the state legislature for years. Republicans arguing this bill, really it's about community safety. Democrats, though, say it will undermine trust between the Latino community and law enforcement and does unfairly target immigrants. Take a listen to some of the arguments we were hearing.
This bill does not round folks up who are not charged with crimes. This bill does not send law enforcement into homes of folks who are not charged with crimes.
I urge people to think about what they're doing, violating people's human rights.
Now, this bill is the same one that approved hundreds of millions of dollars for private school vouchers. The State House is going to be taking it up tomorrow. We'll be looking very closely to see what happens there. In Raleigh, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
Today, we'll get an update on how Cumberland County is using opioid settlement funds. It's the first town hall of many this month and next. Cumberland County will receive more than $30 million over 18 years. You can weigh in on how the county uses this money at the meeting today. It will be at the headquarters library on Maiden Lane in Fayetteville from 5:30 to 7 p.m.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, we're following some breaking news in Atlanta. Two planes have collided on the runway. You see this Delta Airline plane. This is a live picture. The tail completely knocked off. The Delta Airlines plane was taxiing for departure around 10 o'clock this morning. Its wingtip struck the tail of an Endeavor airplane. That Airbus was headed to Tokyo, and the Endeavor was headed to Louisiana. No reported injuries here. Customers that were on the aircrafts were transported back to the terminals. They were reaccommodated on alternate flights. But you can see this wing on this Delta airplane just completely knocked off. The FAA says they are investigating this.
The stage is set for the highly anticipated debate between presidential nominees, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Both are expected to spar over policy issues ranging from the economy to foreign affairs. NBC's Bree Jackson explains there's a lot at stake in tonight's debate.
Vice President Kamala Harris arriving in Philadelphia for her much anticipated debate with former President Trump. Both candidates seeking to shore up support with voters.
We're going to defeat Comrade Kamala Harris, and we are going to win the White House.
It's time to turn the page on the divisiveness. It's time to bring our country together, chart a new way forward.
A new poll shows more than 60% of likely voters want a major change from President Biden. More than half say Trump will bring that change, while only 25% say Harris will. Trump allies touting his strengths over his political rival.
I don't think she's too bright. I think Donald will do well. He'll talk about his policies and the results of those policies.
Those backing Harris warn of the dangers of a second Trump presidency and say her policies will move the country forward.
I do believe Kamala Harris is going to prevail on that, but we can't forget that Trump has an appeal in Pennsylvania, and we need to make sure we show up everywhere.
The race remains tight. Voters in critical battleground states are keeping a close eye on tonight's debate.
I tell him not to talk too much, stay on point on what he needs to do in this election.
Just for her to be her and for her to be honest and tell us what she's going to do for this country.
Harris and Trump meeting in person for the first time today for a high-stakes 90-minute showdown.
It was Bree Jackson reporting. You can watch our coverage of tonight's debate right here on WRAL beginning at 8 o'clock.
North Carolina voters' views on the economy are relatively unchanged from March. That's according to a new exclusive WRAL News poll that Survey USA conducted. We asked 900 North Carolina voters, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the economic outlook for your own family over the next year? 45% say they are optimistic about the economic outlook for their family over the next year. 33% are pessimistic, and 22% say they are not sure. Among Trump voters, 33% say they are optimistic, 47% pessimistic. And among Harris voters, 59% say they are optimistic, 22% pessimistic. Coming up at 4 p.m., WRAL will also release results for the governor's race.
After a 6-week summer recess, lawmakers are back on Capitol Hill searching for a solution to a familiar problem: how to avert a shutdown. Funding for the government runs out at the end of this month, and that could result in the closure of several federal agencies and national parks, as well as furloughing millions of workers.
Today, Wake County parents can learn more about plans to move thousands of students to new schools next year. WRAL's Laura Levine explains how this is a way for district leaders to address overcrowding.
Construction is well underway here for the Felton Grove High School that's being built behind me. In fact, you can see the work vehicles rolling through the gates as those crews are hard at work. Now, this school is expected to accommodate more than 2,200 students. It's one of 4 schools, those new schools opening in Southern Wake County next year. Today, the first of 4 informational sessions will kick off. Parents and families will get to learn more about the reassignment plans for the 3 elementary and 1 high school. The school board recently unveiled the first draft of next year's enrollment plan. It involves shuffling students from 22 elementary schools, 12 middle schools, and 6 high schools. They say it addresses overcrowding and shortens some bus routes. And Wake County Schools has an online forum for parents to share some of the feedback that they may have about all of these changes. The Felton Grove virtual session that will begin at 6 o'clock and run till 7:30 today. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Apex.
A bill to fully fund private school vouchers is one step closer to being approved. The State House will vote on the bill tomorrow after it passed in the State Senate. The so-called Opportunity Scholarships provide up to $7,500 for families to send their kids to private school. It amounts to more than $250 million in public money. 50,000 families have been on a wait list for those scholarships. Republicans generally support the measure, while Democrats believe the large price tag takes away from public school investment.
Happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, 42 state attorneys general want a warning label on social media apps. They want Congress to require the Surgeon General warning labels on them. This is all in an effort to reduce addiction with these apps. Now, states, they have taken legal action against a number of social media companies, including Meta and TikTok, but they argue that more needs to be done. A warning on social media apps requires congressional approval. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy has pushed for Congress to do this. So far, they have ignored his plea.
We expect to get an update today about what Raleigh leaders plan to do with the old DMV headquarters. It's the one on New Bern Avenue. The city asked hundreds of people for feedback on what to do with the historic site. The plan is to demolish the old DMV buildings late this year or early next year. City council members will provide an update on the project at their work session this afternoon. They'll also give an update on Duplex Village and Zach's Grocery. All 3 projects are intended to support the city's bus rapid transit investments on New Bern Avenue. A 3-year-old girl at the center of an Amber Alert has been found and is now safe. Police issued an Amber Alert for Chloe Marlowe after 11:30 last night. Police in Boiling Spring Lakes canceled the Amber Alert around 9:30 this morning. She was found in Columbus County. Chloe was taken to a hospital in Whiteville to be examined. We're working to learn about charges in the case.
Next at noon, we are seeing more detailed body cam video of the Tyreek Hill arrest in Miami. What else the Dolphins receiver is saying about the traffic stop that escalated.
Also, students returned to the Georgia high school where 4 people were killed last week. A small step forward for them after this tragedy.
Plus, e-cigarette use has declined among young people. At 12:30, the new concern over how that age group is now getting its nicotine fix.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
We're hearing from Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill following the controversial stop by police prior to the team's season opener in Miami. Newly released body cam video shows the detainment that resulted in him face down on the pavement. Hill sat down with NBC's Jesse Kirsch to talk about what happened.
I'm getting arrested. I'm getting arrested.
Miami-Dade police releasing new body camera video that shows what happened Sunday when officers pulled NFL star Tyreek Hill from his vehicle, shoved him to the ground, and put him in handcuffs, not far from the stadium.
It went from 0 to 60 immediately, man.
The Miami Dolphins wide receiver sitting down with NBC News, along with his wife, speaking out on the incident that started when he was pulled over on Sunday.
You're speeding. Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm here. That way you can lower it and talk to you.
Just get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
In the video, you can see Hill roll up his window. He's ordered to lower it again before the situation quickly escalates.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now.
The seat go down, so it's almost like you got to push up to get out. You know what I'm saying?
When we tell you to do something, you do it.
That officer You know, obviously he was having either a bad day or he just wanted to have a power trip over me.
Miami-Dade police have ordered an internal affairs investigation and placed one officer on administrative duties, but did not ID them. Hours later, Hill scored an 80-yard touchdown in the Dolphins' season-opening win.
Oh, he's a ghost!
Celebrating like this after the TD with a mock handcuffing on the field.
What message were you hoping to send with that celebration?
Like I said, man, you got to learn how to laugh and have a good time, man.
Some of Hill's teammates stopped to help. One of them, defensive lineman Calais Campbell, was also temporarily detained. Hill believes the incident could have ended differently if he were not a superstar athlete.
Worst case scenario would have been shot, or either you would have been locked up.
Students returned to school today in the Georgia School District, where a teenager carried out a deadly shooting. The district, though, has not said when classes will resume for Appalachia High School students. Yesterday, those students were allowed to go back inside Appalachia High to pick up their belongings that they left behind when they ran from the gunfire. 4 people were killed, 9 others were injured.
After several delays, Polaris Dawn launched this morning from Kennedy Space Center. The history-making 5-day mission will include the first spacewalk carried out by an all-civilian crew. The group will also test new spacesuits and technologies that could pave the way for future long-duration missions to the moon and eventually Mars. A new survey shows a sizable number of homeowners are not financially prepared to handle bad weather or what happens after a disaster. The Bankrate 2024 Extreme Weather Survey shows 1 in 4 Americans saying they are not ready for potential costs to rebuild after severe weather hits their homes. The survey also shows homes in the South are likely to face more debt when paying deductibles, and homeowners making less than $50,000 having the most struggle facing rebuilding costs.
Our temperatures this noon have pushed closer to 80, upper 70s in a lot of our viewing area. Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio, still pretty comfortable there because the humidity levels are so low.
Jeff, I have you well trained. You've been paying attention all morning. That's great. It is beautiful out here. Temperatures are starting to warm up, as you said, but our humidity will be low again all day. Doesn't mean that it isn't going to feel warm, but it's the kind of weather, if you can find a shady spot, all of a sudden it feels a lot more comfortable, as opposed to certain times of year in the summer where, no matter where you are, it just feels hot because there's so much humidity. Beautiful here in the gardens right now. We take a live look a little bit earlier. There were a bunch of people wandering around and enjoying. I know we're mostly known for our azaleas here at WRAL, but there are all sorts of things blooming in the garden all year long. It is 78 degrees and our dew point is 60. Dew point again is a measure of moisture in the atmosphere, and so that's a low to moderate level, so not bad. Temperatures will climb into the mid 80s for highs this afternoon. Right now we're looking at 70s pretty much everywhere. 73 in Roxborough, 76 in Southern Pines, 77 in Goldsboro, 78 in Rocky Mount. So feeling good out here this morning. We'll take a live look at satellite and radar here, and of course we're looking at Francine down there in the Gulf. Likely to become a hurricane by the end of the day today, and lots of rain already stretching from Florida back over toward Texas. But this is all likely to head up the Mississippi Valley with very little of it headed to our viewing area. There's possibly a pocket where we're going to see some heavy rain in the mountains, but we'll be watching to see how that actually sets up. We've had some really nice weather lately because of our high pressure system. High pressure systems have sinking air. A lot of times they bring us clear skies, which is what we're seeing right now. Beautiful sunshine out here currently in the gardens. They flow clockwise, and they also act to block systems. So all that rain that's down in the Gulf of Mexico will stay there and actually get forced up and around that high pressure system until that high moves away. So that's one of the reasons we're not likely to see a lot of rain. That high is going to stand in the way, at least for a little while. Here's a look at Futurecast, and that high does start to slip on up into New England, and that's going to open the door to some cloud cover by the time we get to Thursday. So we'll start to cloud up Thursday. We might start to see a few isolated showers on Friday as well as Saturday and Sunday. You can see that band that's moving through starting to pick up in intensity a little bit around Georgia and South Carolina. So that's going to be along a warm front. We'll see how all that develops. As we get toward the end of the week, our highs will cool down with the cloud cover and our overnight lows will start to warm up. So mid 60s on Friday with a high of 81 there in the afternoon. Our muggy meter goes up to, we're going to see it climbing all the way up towards, say, tolerable by Friday Friday and Saturday. You know, the way it's been lately, it may not feel that tolerable because we've had such lovely weather. Be on the lookout again today for some smoke from some of the western wildfires. I noticed it a good bit yesterday. Standing here in the gardens right now, I don't see as much as I did yesterday. So it looks like it's maybe easing up just a little bit. Of course, as we have that system move up from the tropics, that will help to ease that out of the atmosphere some too. Durham Bulls, of course, homestand starting today. The weather looks nice for that. Beautiful today and tomorrow. Nice Thursday too. We'll just see an increase in our cloud cover. A 30% chance of rain Saturday and Sunday. We'll go over the timeline and the amounts coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Well, the change of seasons likely has you ready to do some home cleaning, putting you in contact with lots of dust, and it could be dangerous. Today at 4, 5 on your sides, Keely Arthur details the health problems and risks uncovered by a new Consumer Reports investigation.
Then at 5:30, after more than 5 years of construction, a 13-mile stretch of I-40 is fully open with 5 lanes of traffic. Brett Neese shows how this will ease congestion and improve your commute. Well, still ahead this noon, Bank of America is raising its minimum wage for the 7th consecutive year, and it's not finished. When the next round of increases could come.
Plus, it's almost time to start making your holiday travel plans. Up next, the best time to book your flights. This morning, Europe's top court upheld 2 multi-billion-dollar fines against Google and Apple. Google has been ordered to pay a fine of nearly $3 billion for abusing its dominant position by favoring its own shopping comparison service. The fine stems from an antitrust investigation that ended in 2017. The court also ruled against Apple in the tech giant's 10-year court battle over its tax affairs in Ireland. In 2016, the EU ordered Apple to pay more than $14 billion in back taxes for illegal tax benefits it received over the course of 2 decades. Charlotte-based Bank of America is once again raising its minimum hourly wage. Starting in October, full-time employees will earn a minimum of $24 per hour. That's almost $50,000 a year. This is the 7th consecutive year the bank has raised its minimum wage. Bank of America is looking to increase the minimum to $25 an hour by 2025.
If you're starting to think about holiday travel, Google Flights says it's best to start looking for domestic flights in early October. The cheapest flights are 45 days before Thanksgiving. Snag your reservations for Christmas at least 50 days before you want to depart. And international flights are good also for 50 days ahead of travel. As for the best days of the week to fly, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday offer the best savings. Amazon Prime members who shop in-store and online at Amazon Fresh will see new discounts today. They can now get a subscription with unlimited grocery delivery on orders over $35 from Amazon Fresh, Whole Foods, and other local grocery and specialty retailers. Amazon is offering up to 50% off on a rotating group of about a dozen items each week, including fresh produce and pantry staples. Voters in our state who are expecting a mail-in ballot will have to wait a bit longer. The ruling that prompted a last-minute ballot reprint.
There's good news and bad news when it comes to tobacco use and youth. The new concern and how parents can help children avoid tobacco. First, here's a look at the winning North Carolina Education Lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
It is now official. The State Board of Elections will need to reprint all its ballots for the November election. The state Supreme Court upheld a ruling last night requiring Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s name to be removed. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey walks us through how we got to this point and the cost to taxpayers.
Your mail-in ballot was supposed to be sent out on Friday. Now, after a series of court rulings, the State Board of Elections here are going to be forced to reprint all of those ballots. Your mail-in ballot could be delayed for weeks. This after the state Supreme Court upheld a lower court's ruling last night. They decided all mail-in ballots should be reprinted without Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s name on it, costing up to $1 million taxpayer dollars. A trial court judge ruled against reprinting ballots on Thursday. It was sent to the Court of Appeals the next day. That court ruled that the ballots should be reprinted. Last night's Supreme Court decision upholds that. The Supreme Court says any missed deadlines and extra spending are worth it to ensure no voter confusion. Right now, we're working to find out that exact timeline for when you could receive your ballot in the mail. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
In just several hours, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump will square off in Philadelphia for their first and possibly their only debate of this election cycle. This is a live look at the venue. Here are a few things to know about tonight's debate. It will be 90 minutes long. There will not be a live audience. The moderators will be the only ones asking questions, and the candidates will not be allowed to ask each other questions. Their microphones will be muted when the other candidate has the floor. You can watch coverage of tonight's debate right here on WRAL beginning at 8.
A confirmed case of the measles has been detected in North Carolina. It's the state's first case since 2018. State officials say a child from Mecklenburg County was likely exposed while traveling outside the country. State health officials say you can get measles just by being in a room where an infected person has been, even up to 2 hours after that person has left. This new case has doctors emphasizing the importance of getting your child vaccinated against diseases like measles.
One of the greatest examples of a wonderful argument for staying completely up to date on vaccines, and that is these incidents don't have to cause alarm or panic because your child's already protected.
Symptoms of the measles include rash, high fever, cough, runny nose, red, watery eyes, and tiny white spots inside the mouth. Traveling to areas where there are known measles cases makes you more at risk of getting it.
There's good news and bad news when it comes to tobacco use and youth. E-cigarette use has declined in this age group, but there's a growing concern for another form of nicotine that's seeing rising sales. Mandy Gaither explains the new concern and what parents can do to help children avoid tobacco.
It's a highly addictive substance that's especially dangerous to young people. Nicotine can be found in all tobacco products.
But it can also harm the developing adolescent brain and also prime the brain for addiction to other drugs. And so it's critically important that youth aren't exposed to these products.
Data from a newly released survey shows a nearly 25% drop in students reporting e-cigarette use the past year. That's about 500,000 fewer youth using the devices, bringing the rate down to the lowest it's been in a decade.
We still have 1.6 million kids who are using these products, but it's still a very important win.
But there's a growing concern about nicotine pouches, which are small and dissolvable and placed between the lip and gum. Experts say sales have been rising since 2016.
We're going to continue to monitor use and also do everything we can to make sure that we do not see any further rises with regard to these products in future years.
To help prevent tobacco use, the American Lung Association says parents should talk to children about the health dangers and the unpleasant physical aspects like bad breath, discolored teeth, and nails. Give them clear, consistent messages about the risks, making them aware of all the products this includes, and set a good example by not smoking or using tobacco in any form.
That was Mandy Gaither reporting. The American Lung Association says that if you catch a teen using tobacco products, ask them why they feel the need to smoke or vape. Then discuss what changes can be made in their life to help them stop using those products.
Young people using nicotine products is the topic of our newest WRAL documentary. Investigative reporter and producer Kristen Severance spoke with dozens of students who say kids are using them in schools every day. Watch Gen V, Teen Vaping in North Carolina. It'll air September 26th at 7:30. Exercise isn't just a way to reduce body fat. It can also help improve the way your body stores fat, and we'll explain that.
And a little later, how you can help lift the financial burden for cancer patients and enjoy an evening out at one of the premier steakhouses in Raleigh. Remember, you can watch WRAL News live anytime on WRAL.com or the WRAL app on your streaming device.
Seniors who fall prey to financial scams could have an underlying health issue. Researchers suggest seniors who make poor decisions about finances and become vulnerable to scams may be showing signs of Alzheimer's disease. The study points to a specific region of the brain that may be developing a thickness, which in turn prevents signals from being sent to other parts of the brain that deal with memory and decision making. Another new study suggests exercise could help you store fat better. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Those with obesity who reported exercising regularly for at least 2 years had fat tissue under the skin that had greater storage capacity compared to those who did not exercise regularly. And that's important because if a person does gain weight, more may be stored in that fat tissue and less goes to the heart or liver. People may have a negative reaction to the word fat, but the tissue itself is an important reserve of extra energy.
Population experts are giving some insight into what could be the source of the declining birth rate here in the U.S. The CDC says the number of births dropped by 2% last year. The fertility rate also dropped 3%, a historic low. Researchers from The Ohio State University say many factors contribute to the drop, but economic uncertainties are one of the key reasons adults are not adding to the family tree. Experts say it is best to respect people's decision not to have children instead of constantly asking for explanations. Apple debuted the latest edition of the iPhone in numerous products. While there has been lots of talk surrounding artificial intelligence and the stronger ceramic shield for scratches and drops, there is another important enhancement that might have slipped through the cracks. The tech giant introduced upgrades for its AirPods line that includes AirPods Pro 2, which contains a built-in hearing aid function. The new AirPods are available for pre-order starting next Monday, and they will start shipping on September 20th.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, Cary Elementary School is under a code yellow lockdown right now. This is the message on their school website page. They say students are safe. Schools enter a code yellow if there's something in the community that may pose a threat to the school. All students will return and remain inside the building. They will not go outside. They are asking parents not to come to the school, and they say activities inside the school will continue as normal.
Sharing is caring. This weekend, a local organization is inviting the public to take part in a magical event. It's designed to help cancer patients in need. We'll talk with two people behind the event right after this break.
This Saturday, a local organization celebrates more than 20 years of giving. The Pay It Forward Gala raises money to provide emergency assistance for North Carolina cancer patients receiving treatment. The president of the board of directors and a member of the board of directors for the Caring Community Foundation are here to talk about the mission and the event. We have Sybil Hobbs and Christian Goodwin joining us now. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Christian, let's start with you. First, talk about how Caring Community Foundation got started. This has been 24 years and counting.
Absolutely. So like a lot of things in North Carolina, it started with a backyard barbecue. So Jill and Eric, who are the founders of the foundation, took up a bucket to celebrate her finishing her treatment and wanted to pay it forward. So what they did was they passed around a bucket and just basically said, hey, what you can give, what you have in your pocket, we'll pass this on. They raised $724 that night and passed it to her oncologist. Her oncologist also happened to be my mother's oncologist. They found a patient that they thought that would benefit from it and passed it to us. And my mother then, in turn, wrote a thank you letter, talking about not just how much the money meant, but how much the support meant, how much knowing that folks were out there and in your corner meant. We didn't hear about it for the next 2 years. Came back, saw her oncologist at Crabtree Valley Mall, and they pointed us back to Jill and Eric. And we've been associated ever since. And I'm so grateful that we now have the opportunity that we've served 5,000 patients, and we're living up to the same mantra that we had that first night.
What a beautiful story. And you talked about what that support meant for your mom and your family, and the Pay It Forward Gala, that's about galvanizing that community support. Tell us about what's happening this Saturday night for that fundraiser.
Sure. This Saturday night, we're going to be at the Angus Barn Pavilion with our Pay It Forward fundraiser, which we do annually. And it's a fun night. It's a great date night. It's lots of auction items. We do get into a little bit of competitive bidding, so it's always fun.
It's always a good thing.
Yes,
Get those numbers up.
Exactly. We've got lots of great auction items this year.
And that money will go toward helping cancer patients with all the other bills in life besides the medical treatments, right?
Absolutely. So these things are going to go towards utilities, food, gas, housing, things of that nature. We really want to step in to try to ease those financial burdens so that they can focus on the fight that they need to be focusing on.
And the foundation's closing in on a milestone, helping 5,000 people in our community already.
Absolutely. We are so thrilled to announce that we've helped 5,000 people, and I think I can speak on behalf of Sybil as well. We can't wait to help the next 5,000.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, you can help make that happen. Tickets are still available. The 2024 Pay It Forward Gala takes place this Saturday at 6 p.m. in the Pavilion at the Angus Bar here in Raleigh. Hope there's some chocolate chess pie on the menu. And you can get your tickets at caringcommunityfoundation.org. Sybil and Christian, thank you so much for all the great work you're doing, and good luck with your event.
Thank you so much. Thanks for getting the word out.
Thanks for being here. Jeff?
Yeah, nothing better than paying it forward, right? We feel like we're getting paid back for all the hot weather we had earlier this summer. Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio for a beautiful day, but we're going to keep a close eye on the tropics because that's going to be a topic the next couple of days.
Exactly. The storm's likely to make landfall tomorrow evening on the coast of Louisiana. It's not likely to bring us any major issues, but it is likely to be a pretty big deal for folks in Louisiana. As a matter of fact, in the last 5 years, they've had 10 landfalling storms there in Louisiana. So, it's something they've had to deal with quite a bit lately. It's 400 miles south of Morgan City, Louisiana, moving northeast at 8 miles per hour, 65 mile per hour winds, 74 mile per hour winds will make it a hurricane. And it is likely to be a Category 1 or close to Category 2 storm as it makes landfall tomorrow evening on the coast of Louisiana. This track, compared to the one that we saw earlier this morning, our 11 o'clock track, is slightly farther east, and so slightly more focused on New Orleans instead of being a little bit farther to the west. And of course, we talk about these forecast fans every year. The forecast fan is only for the center of circulation. These systems are so much bigger than that center of circulation. So already we're seeing a lot of rain up and down the Gulf Coast with this system. It moves up the Mississippi Valley and then just dissipates, not necessarily coming into our area, at least the center of circulation, but it doesn't mean that we won't see at least some rain out of the system. So here's a look at the radar, and you can see it's raining all the way from northeast Mexico all the way to Florida. So pretty much the whole Gulf Coast north of the center of circulation seeing a lot of rain. Going to see as much as 5 to 10 inches of rain, especially right there from Louisiana eastward over toward Florida. Wind is going to be a big deal too. That center of circulation sitting again off the coast of Mexico. And right now we're looking at some wind gusts just east of Houston at 21 miles per hour, 22 to 25 kind of out in the Atlantic, but we don't have a way to look at those wind gusts in real time. Those are all buoys, but we know that it looks like we've got 65 mile per hour winds there. This is a look at the wind field as it's starting to make landfall. So just south of New Orleans, Wednesday evening, we're going to see those winds at Category 1 strength. Of course, we do have a hurricane warning that's already in effect for most of the coast of Louisiana. And here's a look at the storm surge. And this is, always such a big deal. 9-foot storm surge in that area shaded in red, and as much as 4 to 6 feet just south of New Orleans, and in New Orleans, around New Orleans proper, about 3 feet of storm surge. And all that area is so flat. So that storm surge is going to create some major problems, along with the rainfall potential along the path of the storm, anywhere from 5 to 10 inches. And again, you can see that moving on up toward Illinois. The best chance of flooding is going to be down there in Louisiana. We're not looking at much of a flooding risk, but we're definitely looking at the potential to see some of that rain lift into our area, potentially starting as early as Friday with some light scattered showers, and then we'll see that on and off as we get through the weekend. There's a Wednesday evening to follow that path of the storm and of the rain. And watch how some of that rain starts to intensify there over Georgia. Some of that's going to lift up toward our area as well. But right now, the Futurecast models are showing less than an inch of rain for us. So we'll see how that all shapes up. 2 more systems out there, one at 41 at 70% chance of developing. We're going to have nice weather around here, nice low humidity today and tomorrow with high temperatures in the mid 80s, and then some cloud cover rolls in by Thursday.
All right, Move Over apps organizers are introducing a more organic way of finding love. How a stroll in the park could help some people find a new partner.
And here's a look at the winning Powerball numbers. We have 1, 16, 21, 47, 60. The Powerball is 5 and the Power Play multiplier is 3.
We wrap things up with a look at a few of the headlines we're following for you today.
Sheriffs in North Carolina could soon be required to comply when faced with a request from federal immigration agents. That's a key part of a bill currently headed to the state house. Republicans say this bill is about community safety. Democrats argue this bill will undermine trust between the Latino community and law enforcement and unfairly targets immigrants. The state house is set to vote on this tomorrow.
Tonight, Wake County parents have a chance to talk with school district leaders about the latest student assignment plans. This is the first of several informational sessions that will be held over the next couple months. The school board shared the first draft of the plan this week, or last week, I should say. It accounts for continued growth in Wake County and the opening of new schools. Tonight's session is virtual. It begins at 6:30.
A 3-year-old girl at the center of an Amber Alert is now safe. Police issued an Amber Alert for Chloe Marlowe after 11:30 last night. Police in Boiling Spring Lakes canceled the Amber Alert around 9:30 this morning. She was found in Columbus County. Chloe was taken to a hospital in Whiteville to be examined, and we're working to learn about charges in the case.
Finding a perfect match in this modern world might involve using a dating app or two. Well, now some people in New York are finding love in the park. Singles are lining up to physically post their Polaroid photos in hopes of finding that someone special. Each photo posted has a single's name, age, what they're looking for in a relationship. Some also include a few handwritten words about themselves, giving other singles a peek into their potential partner.
It saves my fingers from swiping, so I'm pretty appreciative of it.
It's another avenue for people to find love, and that's what we all want to do at the end of the day.
The co-founders of the Peak dating app are behind the dating wall. Organizers say over 600 people ranging from 19 to 55 years old have added their photos to that wall.
Great idea with the Polaroid, because no filter, right? No Photoshop. Yeah. We're wrapping up our Clear the Shelters campaign today, but please keep in mind that shelter animals across our state are in need of fosters and adoptions. Today's partner is the SPCA of Wake County. Serving over half of North Carolina's counties, SPCA Wake supports pets and people through vital community programs. Visit their Raleigh headquarters to meet adoptable pets and support their life-saving work. For more information on adoption or to get involved, go to their website or stop by the shelter today.
We continue to release the results of our exclusive WRAL News poll this evening. Coming up at 4, we're breaking down how North Carolina voters are feeling about the gubernatorial race.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL. Your next local news update in 30 minutes.
You get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Look at that great day waiting for you out there. Have a good one.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.